policy to discourage international investors. Mr. Ward eloquently presents this position.
As a major international investor, my company, as well as representing the major investors in the industry, I can say that we firmly believe in the future of the Nigerian oil and gas sector. Most of the companies, the international companies, have been in Nigeria for well over 50 years and have made major investments which have been critical and fundamental to Nigeria's current production. We have every intention of being in Nigeria for decades more to come. However, the investment dollars, as directed by the shareholders of major investors, will flow to where companies can get a competitive return commensurate with the risks. With the current proposed fiscal terms and challenges to many fundamental business practices, as I've outlined, Nigeria may not attract the investments at the level and the pace needed to offset natural decline, and therefore Nigeria's production will shrink.
Nothing to worry about, says Mr. Briggs. Contrary to Mr. Ward's position, Mr. Briggs said the bill will encourage many small players who will now have footing in the upstream sector. His position.
The bill we're talking about was submitted last year, towards the end of last year. All of these events have been factored into the bill. Consideration has been taken, and therefore what we see as provided for in the bill, we believe will be capable of continuing to encourage investment.
In his final submission, Mr. Briggs says that this bill has been carefully put together with the future in mind, that the challenges of the moment, such as pipeline vandalism, crude oil theft, and so on, have not been allowed to limit the potentials of the bill. His words.
For fiscalizing, for setting a fiscal framework for a country, it will be wrong to assume that because there is crude theft today, because there is pipeline vandalism today, therefore the worst case scenario is what will be used for setting the fiscal framework. Remember, once this bill is passed, we have to live with it for a long time to come.
One day, we had a vision to improve the way people access their fuel products. Now, 1 in 5 cars drives on our fuel. But that was not enough. So we pioneered the provision of cleaner, safer fuel to local industries through the fastest growing gas supply network in sub-Saharan Africa. Still, that was not enough. So we invested in the acquisition of rigs for oil and gas exploration. We strive towards our future when we, a proudly Nigerian company, will offer the complete solution to Nigeria's energy needs. Owando, the future is here.
Well, viewers, these are the opposite positions of the government and the IOCs. The concern here really is that a bill of this significance ought to have accommodated the concerns of all critical stakeholders in the final draft. That the government, up till now, is still unable to convince the oil producers that the bill is also in their interest leaves a lot to worry about. Your views on this important bill are welcome on our email, info@energydistrict.tv. For further appreciation of this contentious issue, visit our website, energydistrict.tv. Till I come your way next week, I remain yours sincerely, Ademola Adedoyin. Bye for now.
First, higher or honorary degree, or national certificate of education, or Senate-approved diploma of the University of Lagos? Log on to advancement.unilag.edu.ng, click on alumni registration on the left side of the page, fill the form, and click submit. Let's all join hands together to sustain the growth and development of our university. the University of Lagos.
Well, hello and welcome to News Track here on Channel Television, broadcasting from Lagos. I'm Sulaiman Ahmed, and these are the headlines for this hour. President Goodluck Jonathan has wielded the big stick and sacked 9 of his ministers. Those shown the way out are the Minister of National Planning, Minister of State for Defense, Minister of State for Power, Foreign Affairs Minister, Minister of Education, Minister of Environment, Minister of State Agriculture, Housing and Urban Development, and the Minister of Science and Technology. Our State House correspondent Chukwuma Onwekusi has to report.
All the 45 ministers in the Federal Cabinet converge for the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Goodluck Jonathan. No one knew that some of them will be dropped this day, even though there have been speculations over the period of time. The Minister of Information says their sack was with immediate effect. According to him, the President is said to be satisfied with their service to the fatherland.
These ministers have been affected in the cabinet reshuffle, and the President in Council expressed his satisfaction and happiness over their commitment to government since they were appointed.
The Minister of Information, who now takes care of defense, also announced the names of the replacements.
Ministry of Foreign Affairs will be covered by the Honorable Minister of State 1, Foreign Affairs, Mrs. Professor Viola Onwoleri. The Ministry of Education will be covered by the Honorable Minister of State, Nyonson Wike. The Ministry of Environment will be covered by the Minister of State, Niger Delta, Architect Dairos. The Ministry of Land and Housing and Urban Development will be covered by Architect Musa Seda, the Minister of Solid Minerals. The Minister of Science and Technology will be covered by the Honorable Minister of Communication Technology, Mrs. Johnson. The Ministry of National Planning will be covered by the Minister of State Works, Ambassador Bashir Yuguda. In the case of the Minister of Power and Agric, they already have substantive ministers, so their ministers will take full responsibilities pending the appointment of maybe Minister of States that will be working with them. And the Minister of Defense have been asked to cover pending the appointment of a new minister for defense. On
whether or not the dropping of the ministers has any political undertone.
This has absolutely nothing to do with any other factor other than that. Having come 2 years into his own administration. In the last lap, what I see the president doing is to refocus his government, to inject in fresh blood, to achieve, greater service delivery to the people of Nigeria.
The federal government says a new list will be forwarded to the National Assembly for screening and appointment into the offices affected. Chukwuma Onwekusi, Channels Television News.
Well, the federal government has announced plans to introduce necessary policies and legislations that will facilitate smooth, speedy and effective administration of criminal justice in order to guarantee free and fair trial of suspects. Solicitor General of the Federation, Mr. Abdullahi Yola, who announced this in Abuja, said the federal government remains committed to the development and implementation of policies and reforms